really honored to be here with you guys to share some of the client perspective and some of the industry challenges that we face as we design and develop tourism industry sector projects. So we will be going over just one slide about myself, and then we will tackle into the smart cities, why we need smart cities, the definition, some of the definitions of the smart cities, terminologies, and some of the gaps that exist in the current smart city market. And then we will take a brief look at the smart cities in KSA, some of the current ones, current initiatives and the future ones. And then we will also look at the smart city security standards and the KSA developed standards. This is basically the core of the presentation, this part, and how to go to the path forward to develop more standards and what basically the client needs from a standards point of view and some of the stakeholders. And then we will take a look at the industry challenges that we have. And lastly, we will have something missing there. The look at the benefits that we can reap from having standardization of in the tourism and industry sector.
Have you been cut off at the bottom of your slides?
Yes, that's right.
Could we give him the extra inch, please? We'll make it a bit smaller. Thank you.
So basically, I started off in 2007 with the structure cabling system design. And then I acquired my BICSI certification in 2010. I have done in 2013 up to 2016 various projects in offshore and onshore areas for oil and gas sector. And then in 2019, I joined the Giga project and I started experiencing, like everyone else, the smart city, the smart and secure cities field. So the first question that comes to mind is why we need smart cities. So as per the United Nations, there will be approximately 60% of humans living in cities globally, and then 68% by 2050. So there are multiple challenges. As you can see, there are many growing pollution problems. We need better ways to manage and organize ourselves within our cities, to manage traffic problems, lack of physical and social infrastructures. We need to better manage these and make them more cost efficient. And then we have UN sustainable energy goals and requirements that we need to abide with. So the most accepted classification of the smart city concept is by Giffinger, which is the smart, based on the 6 pillars, the smart governance, which is support and improve democratic processes and transparency in governance. And then we have the smart economy, which depends on innovation and productivity to improve the workers and the market needs. And then we have the smart mobility, which strives to make intelligent transportation systems and to make better use of them. And then we have the smart environment pillar, which strives to have an efficient and sustainable urban environment. And then we have the smart people pillar, which focuses on the people providing the input back into creating productive and creative solutions. And then we have the last pillar, which is the smart living and the wise management of facilities and technologies to fulfill the citizens' needs. So along with this multiple definitions that exist. There are many terminologies associated with a smart city, and you have, for example, the wireless sensors networks, LoRaWAN and IoT, and then you have intelligent transportation. So there are a lot of terminologies that we don't yet have in Saudi, the standards bodies that help us understand and make sense of all of them. So in addition, there's to these definitions and terminology, there's a lot of gaps that we need to make uniform for the cities that are being developed within Saudi Arabia, whether they are part of the Giga projects or the existing cities. So some of these gaps are the lack of standard city indicators, smart city indicators. Also, we have to take care of that. The indicators have to cater for the uniqueness of each city. We have to make sure that to customize the smart city KPIs to the city's specific needs and the population. We have to engage the stakeholders, whether they are government bodies or local solution providers within the kingdom. And we have to align with worldwide goals such as the United Nations. And foremost, we have to make sure that there is a feasibility of implementation. If we have goals that are too expensive, then there is no need, then there is no real return on investment for these goals. So based on a recent study in Saudi Arabia, there are some cities already started these initiatives and strive to implement the 6 pillars of smart cities. Riyadh is, as per the research paper, Riyadh is achieving 6 out of the 6 pillars. Mecca is striving to achieve 4 of the 6 pillars of the smart city governance. And with its latest project focusing on the its religious obligations, and Jeddah having implemented lately the smart waste management system using LoRaWAN technologies, they are striving to achieve 5 out of the 6 pillars. And then we have Medina as well, also implementing some smart mobility solutions. So a note here is that smart governance is being, so the smart governance pillar, while it's not individually mentioned in all of these, it is actually being implemented on a kingdom-wide approach through applications like Abshir and Tawakkalna. And this is a look at some of the future cities that are being planned. Some of them you may know, and some of them are maybe new to you. So you have the Amala, the Red Sea, Al-Ula, and Neom. And then you have close to Riyadh, you have Qiddiya, of course. And then you have another development, which is the Diriyah Gate Authority. So I'm sure that all of us here are looking forward to the smart city platforms that these cities will develop, and how they will add to the requirements, and how the local solution providers will also benefit from this. So now, while we develop these smart cities, it's important to have some kind of uniform standard that everyone can abide by. So I summarized here, actually it's not showing very well. On the right side is the security standards that exist in the current market. And then on the left side, you have the smart city standards. So globally, we have the ISO, the United for Sustainable and Smart Cities initiative. And then you have the IEEE releasing a couple of smart city and sustainable standards as well. Locally in Saudi Arabia, you have a digital Saudi conference coming up in, I think, few weeks. And then you have the CITC releasing some important documentation as well about the Internet of Things framework. And of course, the National Digital Transformation Unit also releasing some standards. So while these standards are a good start, we need to develop them more and to align them more with the development, the government bodies that are developing the cities, whether the current cities or the future cities. One point to note here, for example, in the tourism sector, for the security, we have HCIS, which released some directives for the oil and gas, which we have been using for a long time. But for the tourism sector, we are all hungry and waiting to see some directives for the tourism sector as well, to help guide the designers and the consultants going forward with these developments for these new cities. We also have some MOI CCTV standards that are available today. So basically a path forward, what do the clients really need, right? So the client requirements can be summarized maybe in these three, especially for the tourism sector: the user experience. The user coming to Saudi Arabia, he wants to visit Al-Ula, Al-Qiddiya, any one of these places, he needs to have a uniform experience. From the time he thinks about booking the ticket to visit one of the theme parks or one of the resorts, all the way up to after he leaves Saudi Arabia. So we need to have a uniform approach to the user experience to make sure that we capture all his requirements and we are in a competitive market. So for the second goal, obviously for the client, is to have a safety and security using strong local standards and regulations and incorporating them to and customizing them to the local market is key. And then the last is the cost benefit analysis. So for example, every one of us here has a manager, and if he says, I want this system, I want that system, prove to me that this system is useful. Does it have the correct return on investment? Does it provide the needed security for the amount of money that you're going to spend on it? So this is another key point for the stakeholders. As I mentioned before, of course, we need more standards and regulations for the tourism and industry sector. And then we need to have more local participation and integration with the solution providers so that they know what to expect within 3 to 4 years, and then they can customize their portfolios to meet the needs of the tourism and industry sector. And then, of course, it's important to have the public and private partnerships integrate together. So can we fix this slide? It's
unfortunately not. We have checked with the technical department, and that inch will continue to be missing.
Okay. No worries. Okay, so these are some of the industry challenges that I already touched upon. So we have smart city standards that can be improved even further. We need to have physical security standards and planning manuals for the tourism sector. And then this will obviously help minimize design and construction issues and ensure the alignment of the expectations of the clients with the customers. And of course, this will result in huge cost savings in the planning stages. One more important thing is to have user journey maps to be able to have standard templates that show the input of AI, how it will integrate into the entertainment applications. For example, if I'm booking an event in one of the tourism parks or attractions, and the application will tell me if there is a national Saudi holiday during that day, then I can plan accordingly that there will be some delays in traffic. There will be some delays. So applications need to be intelligent to be able to tell us so that the user is not frustrated with things that he sees on the ground that are different from what we are trying to sell. So the key word here is to make sure that the experience is uniform and tries to capture from as many data input as they can. And that last, the user journey maps. Okay, yeah, I think we already discussed this point. So all cities are basically unique, and it's important to have the smart city KPIs that each smart city can use to develop their city. And of course, we talked about cost-benefit analysis templates that will help the developers and the designers and the consultants to develop their cities even more. So the last portion of the presentation is about the standardization and how it can benefit us. So for example, here, you have the typical user journey map. What I'm personally looking for is to have similar user journey maps within the local standards so that anyone who's trying to develop a new tourism facility, he's easily able to capture it and embed it. For example, we have Tawakkalna. You can use it to book tickets for the Riyadh season right now. So we need to have integration with some of these applications in the user journey map so that he is not surprised by anything that he sees on the ground. So we try to capture the user journey map from start to finish, from the time he's inspired to come to Saudi, to come to Neom, to come to Qiddiya, and to also to help him with the logistics of his booking. When I visited the Disney World in the US, nobody told me that I can't visit 2 theme parks in one day. This is impossible, right? So the same thing for if we have some visitor coming to Riyadh trying to visit Diriyah, a museum, and then some another event in Qiddiya, we need the AI of the app to tell us that, okay, there is a 40-kilometer distance between these two. You cannot continue this booking because you will not be able to continue the reservation this way. And this will frustrate the users. So we need AI to be embedded in the geographical locations of the destinations that the users are trying to book. So, and then also this is mainly for consultants. So the consultants have various ways of calculating risk for security purposes. So it's important to have security standards that guide the consultants into a specific way how to calculate the risks for the tourism sector. There are many methodologies out there, and it's important to make it uniform and to unify it. And then, of course, the standoff distance. So this is a snapshot from the Abu Dhabi Safety and Security Planning Manual. This is something that I personally like a lot, and I wish to see something like it for the commercial and for the tourism sector within Saudi Arabia, because this will alleviate all of the hassles that we face with our consultants and designers, and because the standoff distance is not uniform. If I have a consultant from the UK, he will give me the 30 meter, or I have a consultant from the US, they will use a different. And then once you have the standoff distance set, then it will be different for different facilities. If you have the facilities that are more critical will have higher standoff distance. And then when to use a blast analysis study and when not to use it. So these are all things that we're looking for to have in the tourism and industry sector. Sorry. The last item of standardization is to have uniform integrated applications. Some of these I already touched up on before. So if I have the data for the user from the time he does the booking, then I can use that to my advantage. So if I have him within one of the areas, tourism theme parks, for example, I can only check for his credentials and his background information once. So this will create a seamless approach for him. I don't need to screen him every time he exits one theme park and then goes into another theme park. So this is a key component. And then it's important to integrate this with the booking and mobility applications, and to use artificial intelligence to, as I mentioned before, to check for any local events that the user can access. For example, he's booking something in the Riyadh gate, and then there is another event close by. So the app should be able to recognize that and inform the user that maybe check this place out, or check this concert, check this event. So all of these things are important. The lastly is to have some kind of smart wristbands that the users can use while they're accessing the tourism areas. Yeah. So basically that's it. Thank you very much, guys.
Is my microphone working, please? Hello? It is working? Great. Well, that was a very detailed and disciplined presentation, which is what you'd expect from an ASIS PSP qualified certified guy, which is a great qualification. As always, I have questions. More importantly, do you? Come on, no one wants to ask about bungee jumping off the cliff. No one? Only me? No. The notion of standards is obviously extremely important. And I'll ask you kind of a two-sided question, some of which you addressed. What are the kind of go-bys that you think really have to be addressed on standards? And just as importantly, who should set the standards?
So,
in tourism and commerce.
So like I mentioned in the presentation, the one that I discovered recently is the Abu Dhabi Safety and Security Planning Manual. I would love to see something similar like that for the security in the tourism sector in Saudi Arabia, and as well for the smart cities, right? To create some KPIs, benchmarks that the local developers of smart cities can develop, and something to provide guidance for them to strive to achieve. Whether this is going to be a government body that will issue the standards, it doesn't have to be, you know. My understanding is that HCIS released directives for the Haramain railway once that project was announced. So,
do you think HCIS should address the tourism sector?
Probably. I'm not the right guy to answer this question.
Maybe there are guys here who know the guys at
Yes.
HCIS for a line. They
Yes.
could maybe take that forward.
Yeah. So HCIS could be one of the, and then it could be also a combination of the PIF projects, right? So all of these projects, they're all developing their own standards within their own areas. So it could be a combination of coordination between them to create a standard that can then be later adopted by HCIS, for example.
Listen, anybody, I mean, I think I'll conclude here by saying, although it's not the most sexy topic, the topic of standards and setting is fundamentally important to our industry. You're a very thoughtful man. This has been an extremely thoughtful presentation, and we thank you. Stay around, please.
Thank you. Thank you.